Oh, well, Singing in the Rain, what can I say? Everything about it is pure joy. It's pure joy. For me, my favorite scene is when Debbie Reynolds busts out of the cake and starts singing "All I Do the Whole Night Through Is Dream of You," and with Gene Kelly and Donald Connor and everybody. It's pure joy. It's pure joy. I love it so much. Yeah, I mean, that's not a very original thing to say, but everybody loves it. Oh, again, pure joy. I mean, it's a masterpiece. When I first saw it, I was 19 years old, and I had the weirdest feeling when I came out of the cinema. I felt simultaneously physically exhausted. I felt like I felt I'd done 15 rounds with Jake LaMotta or Sugar Ray Robinson. I physically felt exhausted, but at the same time, I felt that I could pick a bus up over my head and throw it. I felt that I was sort of superhuman at the same time. And again, it's that I don't think any movie has had that specific effect on me. But I mean, it just blew my mind so much. It just looked so beautiful and was passionate. I'd seen De Niro before, but that was the first time that I'd seen Joe Pesci, for example. I mean, it was the first time really anybody had seen Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
And again, it introduced us to that remarkable American character actor. Oh, again, perfection, pure perfection in cinema, Kind Hearts and Coronets. I like to think of it as my favorite serial killer film. It is about a serial killer who sets out to murder all the people, all the aristocrats that stand between him and his rightful title as the Duke of Chalfont. Absolutely superb performance by Dennis Price as Louis Mazzini. Superb performance by Alec Guinness as the 8 members of the Gascoigne family. Great performance by Joan Greenwood as Sibella, his loved one. Beautiful use of voiceover. Elegant, sinuous, superbly crafted, brilliantly constructed. I think it's the greatest of the Ealing comedies, that studio kind of brand of comedy, which it's a superb film. In the Mood for Love, it's an amazing film. One of my treasured possessions. I don't own much film memorabilia, but one of my treasured possessions is I have a poster for In the Mood for Love, signed by Wong Kar-wai and Maggie Cheung, actually.
Wow.
And Tony Leung. Come to think of it. It's an amazing story of doomed love. It's a very grown-up story. And the ending in Cambodia, I won't talk about the ending too much. I don't want to blow it for people who haven't seen it, but it is one of the most upsetting and moving endings, I think, of any love story. It's a fascinating movie. It's very low budget. When you watch it now, it's over 20 years old now, and it's very intimate. It is made on a very intimate, low budget scale. But I think it's still Wong's masterpiece, and it's fascinating. And if you love that movie, it's worth finding. Wong Kar-wai did a sort of quasi weird sequel or footnote called In the Mood for Love 2001 the next year, which is a short film lasting about 10 minutes, sort of with the same characters in the same situation. It's worth looking at. It's a lovely film. It's a lovely film about love. It really is about love. In a way that a lot of films aren't. You think that all films are about love. All films are about romantic, soppy, smooching, oh, I love you. Very few films are really about love, I think. Oh, I Am Cuba. I haven't watched it for a long time, but I love the sheer wizardry of the images in I Am Cuba and the party scene in Havana with the camera. And I still don't. I think that the cinematographer's name is Sergei Urugevsky, and he achieved magic, pure magic with his camera. He just appeared to make it float over a party down and into the pool. And it is an extraordinary achievement visually. It's an amazing film. I haven't seen it for a long time, but it's in terms of cinema and cinematic technique, it's an amazing piece of work. Oh, Hidden. Again, there was a film to shock everyone. I mean, again, when we all saw it, it was there. You know, you realize Haneke is not here to reassure you. He is there to make you upset and freak you out in the most intimate way. And the idea of being spied on by this weird camera, these videos which were being given to you. And there's something, I can hardly put my finger on it. It was a stroke of genius to make the person who is being upset a TV presenter who presents an arts program. I always think, did Haneke think, I'm very irritated by TV journalists who pronounce on my film, something like that. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to find it. Wouldn't it be funny that somebody who affects this mannerism of omniscience, wouldn't it be funny to make it this person has some horrible secret, and I, the kind of disembodied, almost like the recording angel of God, I'm going to see into his soul and find this terrible thing that he's done. Because I think it's the fact that he's a presenter. He's been used to presenting his entire life, and that nothing's wrong, and that he's untroubled and unworried by anything at all. But there is something touched by kind of demonic genius, I think, hidden. It's not a film for everyone. Mm-hmm. It's not a film for everyone, but there is something very disquieting about it. Oh, Black Nuts is an amazing film, a real Paul Pressburger movie. Again, amazing that he managed to shoot that in the studio. I mean, none of that is none of that actually happens in India. I mean, he'd actually created all that in the studio, and some of it in gardens in Sussex. Again, a beautiful piece of work, a very lush and very exotic piece of work. It's not a fashionable piece of work because it's a very Orientalist piece of work, I suppose, but it is beautifully performed. And I love Deborah Carr in it. I love Kathleen Byron in it. It's a beautiful film. I could watch it again. I could sit down and watch it again. Annie Hall, again, I mean, it's so good. I mean, I love his stand-up, his introduction, which is the food here at this restaurant is so awful, yeah, and such small portions. You know, thinking, yeah, life is awful and it's over much too quickly. And I think it's great because it's about in a way, I don't think any other comedian, any stand-up comedian, has absorbed his own previous career as a stand-up comedian into the life of being a filmmaker in quite an extraordinary way. Woody Allen did. It's not simply that he was formerly a stand-up comedian or a writer who then started to write funny movies in a way that, let's say, Billy Wilder might have written something like a whatever. Although I should say that is a remake of another movie. But he absorbed. Not only did he absorb the speech and the grammar and the style of stand-up comedy into the cinema, but he also made it about himself as a recognizably kind of semi-autobiographical figure himself. Yeah, I love it. It's a very romantic film. It kind of invented a lot of the tropes of romantic comedy A lot of the tropes that we kind of take for granted, the idea of being best friends with the person that you're in love with, and that idea of the kind of collage, the almost ecstatic collage of moments at the end of a movie, where you realize that was the best moments of our love affair. That Woody Allen invented that, and it's been taken up not merely in every other rom-com you ever see, but in reality TV shows as well. Every time I sit down and watch Big Brother or something like that, they would show, and here are your best moments in the house. I always think, do you know who invented this? Woody Allen invented this for the end of Annie Hall, and now it's become part of the language. It's become part of the rom-com language and TV language. I remember, again, I love this so much. Again, I haven't seen it very much, but my favorite bit of it is the scene where the bell is cast. There's a scene in it where a little boy watches this bell, giant bronze bell, being cast in this burning kind of furnace. And there's an amazing moment where he looks at it and then turns around, looks at the camera and says, "Isn't it hot?" And you think, yeah, it does feel hot. Now you've come to think about it. It's an amazingly naive and ingenuous moment to address the camera and say, "Isn't it hot?" It's amazingly innocent, and yet also at the same time, it's the kind of innocence that only comes from a very sophisticated and intelligent filmmaker. But yes, I love that scene. Again, it's the highest of high art, high cinematic art, Andrei Rublev, in that it makes no apology for its deep seriousness and the importance of what it's talking about, iconic seriousness. And again, it's the kind of language of cinema which it's actually quite rare, even in the highest sort of circles of art cinema now. It's the sort of thing we kind of lost in a way with the great masters like sort of Bergman and like that. We've lost that sort of ultra high seriousness. And it's a shame we've sort of lost it a bit. Oh, The Addiction. I love The Addiction. I'm the only person in the world who thinks that it's important, but it is it should be seen in a double bill, probably with Ferrara's other film, The Funeral. If you've ever seen either of those two films, you'll see what I mean in that it's about evil. It's not merely that he says, okay, being a vampire is like being a heroin addict. And he shows these vampires and they're sort of like heroin addicts. And that's kind of an obvious thing to say. And you probably think, yeah, okay, being a vampire is kind of like a heroin addict, okay, I get it, sure. But this short film, and it doesn't last for, it only lasts for about an hour and a quarter, immerses you in such a kind of genuine evilness. Very rarely have I felt in a film such an overwhelming sense of evil and wickedness, and the predatory and the parasitic nature of evil is brilliantly conveyed in this film. He's such an interesting man. He's got to be the most badass. I mean, I think he's an amazing man. I mean, he's kind of king of New York with Christopher Walken, outrageous film, brilliant. Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel. I mean, amazing films, real badass movies.
Thank you so much for what you have done.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. I've really enjoyed myself. I'm sorry my voice has gone. I'm shouting my nonsensical opinions so much. I've turned myself hoarse, but thank you. I've really enjoyed myself. Thank you so much, guys. Great to talk to you guys.